I'm Charles Hamilton, and you're listening to a Quick Question audio documentary. In this episode, I'll be asking the question, is the iPod killing the conversation?
I'm portraying to the outside world that I don't want to be talked to. Hi, I'm Catherine, and I work for the Canadian Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences.
This question came to me recently when I got on one of the LTC buses and sat down at the back, my favorite seat. From this position, I noticed a silence that was new to me. Everyone looked like zombies plugged into their iPods or lost in their cell phones.
It's rare if someone talks to someone.
And I couldn't believe that some of these people were my fellow classmates, yet they pretended to be lost in their playlists rather than acknowledge my presence.
You know, you always talk about how the urban kind of disconnection with everybody around you. I think that's kind of where we're at.
The art of the conversation is dead, and these gadgets we think we can't live without are to blame.
You're riding the bus or whatever, and so you're surrounded by people. You're in the social context, but when you're listening to your iPod, you're essentially removing yourself from that. Hello, I'm Paul Sham, interactive designer. I have a BA in Media Information and Technoculture and a diploma in Multimedia Theory and Production.
Before the iPod and text craze, people made small talk. New friendships were formed, all from a simple hello on a boring bus ride. This chit-chat easily turned into a deep, meaningful conversation. These days, playlists and meaningless texts have taken over.
We don't have to sit through that uncomfortable silence of us not talking. So now we just put in our headphones and now we have something that we're doing instead.
And people don't communicate with each other face-to-face as much as they should.
Because sometimes, if it's early in the morning, I don't want to talk to anyone because I'm barely awake. So by having my iPod and my book or my magazine, it would be much harder for me to make eye contact with someone that I knew and talk to them. I'm Christina and I work for the National Ballet of Canada.
In a TED Talk, Stephen Johnson discussed the brilliance of the conversation and how it sparks groundbreaking ideas. The link to the TED Talk can be found in the description below. Despite the need for the coffeehouse environment that Stephen Johnson describes, the iPod-laden text-crazed societies are degrading not only the physical spaces where ideas could spread, but also the possibility of these spaces coming into being.
It's interesting, I'm thinking of how we have the public sphere and essentially we no longer have that, right? We're in these public social contexts, but we no longer engage in them. There are these movements to try to recreate these public spheres, but I don't think they can happen in the same way that we kind of reminisce or are nostalgic from, even though we didn't grow up in that time.
I admit, I'm a part of this zombie crowd from time to time.
Personally, I like to have my iPod on before I even leave the house.
But I have recently become more aware of why I want it to stop.
You have control over when you put your earphones in, when you choose to be in your own world.
There are dangers involved in creating smaller and smaller micro-communities, like those that come from handheld electronic devices, especially when it comes to the point where we are shutting out the entire world around us.
Certainly at work, I like to put in my earphones and listen to a podcast or listen to music and try to get stuff done, try to get work done, say, I don't care, if my phone's ringing, I'll answer it, but to the most part, it's saying to my coworkers, I'm busy, I don't want to be bothered right now, I really need to focus and I really need to get this done.
There has always been a safety concern when someone is out in public and cannot hear what's going on around them. Headphones in cars, on bicycles, or in crosswalks and railroad crossings need to be addressed.
I don't think headphones are the cause of the problem. I think society changed to that, and then headphones became a symptom of it.
The sad news, however, is that until being tuned out kills more people, not much will happen. New York State Senator Carl Kruger made headlines in 2007 when word got out that the legislator wanted to ban the use of iPods, cell phones, and other electronic devices by pedestrians in crosswalks. You can't be fully aware of your surroundings if you're fiddling with a BlackBerry, dialing a phone number, or listening to music on an iPod, said Kruger. This statement came after a January 2007 accident in which a headphone-wearing pedestrian was killed after walking in front of a bus. There have been numerous recorded instances since, and as a result, many provinces and states alike have cracked down on using handheld devices, like the cellular telephone or iPod while driving. But not much has been done in terms of their pedestrian use. Realistically though, how is something like this enforceable? I mean really. The only way to enforce something as largely integrated into society as the iPod would be to reclaim them all. And that would not go well with Apple, nor with many other providers of our consumer culture.
We've created our own social context where we're connected to people not by proximity, but through this technology. So, I mean, you could look at it that our dependence on this technology in order to create this social context as a bad thing.
The main point is that we are no longer conscious of our environment around us, and the natural environment is suffering because of it. And yes, it does go beyond the iPod, I agree. However, not only are they a part of the problem, the iPod also illustrates how we are able to digress with the widespread use and acceptance of technologies that may not be that good for us. No one seems to be thinking about these things anymore because they are more concerned with what others think about them. And that is the problem. The questions that we should be asking ourselves are whether or not these technologies really make a difference in our lives. Do we really need them? Is there a better way to manufacture and dispose of them? With the way that we are headed now, much of the world is overdeveloping and overconsuming. This is large in part thanks to the ways of big industry and capitalism. But we're moving faster than our resources can renew. This is a problem that needs to be talked about. New ideas could become the solution to this global problem, if only people talk to each other more. We are in dire need of global communication in order to get past this epidemic of technology. If we don't, then that will be our downfall as a species. The iPod may not be the tipping point of our society, but will we be able to see the end coming before it's too late? Who knows? If everyone is disconnected from their environment around them, well, plugged into their favorite playlist, we may just go down listening to a song that we don't even really like. We just put it on our iPod to fill up all that extra space. And so, I beg of you, the next time you reach for your iPod and headphones, ask yourself this quick question. Are these really necessary? Thanks for listening. I'm Charles Hamilton, and this was a Quick Question audio documentary.